Hello, welcome. This feels a little odd because for the last several weeks I've been recording them so that I could have guests participate on their schedules. So I am here live today. Our podcast today, I am so happy. So, welcome back first to the Creative Connection, and I am your host, Cindy Thomsen. And if you've been following our recent episodes, we've been exploring what it means to lead ourselves well in love, how presence, voice, and awareness shape the way we connect with others. Last week, Dr. Jenny Wallig reminded us that love begins with one, ourselves. The conscious responding and self-leadership to create the foundation of our relationships that truly thrive. Today, I am joined by my husband, Dr. Dan Thomsen, as we bring home the idea, literally, of this creating self-leadership in our relationships to connect better. We celebrate being together here very shortly, 44 years this coming holiday season, and have been married for 41 and a half of those years. We have learned, each individually and together, that connection isn't about being inseparable. It's about creating space for each other to grow, express, and find our unique voices. For Dan, the voice comes alive through music. For me, it's through storytelling, and I believe we have gotten more connected by honoring those creative callings. While not always seeing the world through the same rose-colored glasses, I think we have found a deeper harmony in our life together. So I am so glad that you are here to join us as we talk about creativity, connection, and how love lasts when we make room for each other's song. For those of you who may not remember or did not listen yet, we first started this conversation the first week of August. And in that conversation, we talked about presence. We talked about being rooted in order to be revitalized. And not only is Dan my husband of 41 and a half years, but he is also the father of our 3 adult children and a marriage and family clinical psychologist who's dedicated his life to helping people understand what we're going to talk about today, connection. He is also a musician and has played drums since he was 10. About the time I was, in fact, told that I was tone deaf and had no business doing music. But I discovered that I loved storytelling.
Yeah.
Then when we got married, one of the first things that we did was we moved halfway across the country for him to go to grad school. And in that move, he sold his drum set.
Before the move.
Right before the move, yes. Sold the drum set to help pay for the move across the country. Around that time when we became a couple, I gave up storytelling. My idea of becoming a professional actor, because I became Dan's number one supporter. So let's begin the conversation. Let's start with connection. And Dan, when you think about the idea of connection, what does it mean to you after 4 decades of partnership with me?
So what does connection mean?
Yes, for us, what does connection mean after 4 decades of being in partnership with me?
Well, I mean, one thing it means is what we're doing right now, right? We're sitting here talking. We share this with people online, but we also share it with our friends and things like that. So our connection ripples outward and has effect on other people's connections, including our boys, I think.
Yeah.
Right? And their friends, and one wife and some girlfriends. So connection. I mean, at the most basic, it is this, right? It's connecting. You can connect one finger, you can connect five fingers, you can connect a whole hand. And I think that I didn't come up with this, but someone told it to me, and it's like a good connection is when you have Velcro all over your both hands. Like this is one person, this is another person, and you have so much overlap and so much points of connection that it's not just one finger, it's not just a couple of fingers, it's the whole thing. Now that doesn't mean you can't be independent,
Rip it apart.
rip it apart and be independent, but it doesn't ruin the Velcro.
Ah.
Right. And so being connected also includes being autonomous, right? Having your own identity. Okay.
Yeah.
And then choosing to connect.
So let's go back to sort of the origin of us as a married couple and beginning our rhythm together or finding our rhythm together. Can you think of a story early on in our relationship together about balancing work, family, raising kids, our relationship, and just to help the audience understand, we were married for 11 years before we made the move to become parents.
That's right. And we were also, I think we dated for 2.5 years, and then were engaged for a year, and then got married. Well, I think one of the stories happened before we got married, which was not everyone was in favor of our partnership, our connection.
They didn't like our rose-colored glasses.
That's right. And quote, Dan, your rose-colored glasses are an inch or a mile thick. But we weathered that storm. We powered through. We got married. All those people came to our wedding, and eventually saw the light and realized that we were a good match. I would say that you were my number one supporter all the way through graduate school, and when I was we were in Oregon, doing all that work to get licensed and things like that. I think one of the struggles that we had, one of the stories, is the decision to have kids.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was like, well, we're not ready. We don't have enough money, or we're not settled in the right spot. And so, as it turns out, we moved from Portland to Seattle and got pregnant right away. And so it was kind of like, oh, okay. And I was also starting a private practice at that time. She was working at Motherhood Maternity. Ironic, maybe. Coincidence, who knows? Anyway, and so that transition, the story of balancing becoming parents, me starting my business, you becoming a full-time mom, it was really quite a challenge.
It was.
I remember I worked a lot of evenings, and I would come home and you would be so burnt out and so frazzled, even with just one kid. And then we had Chris, our second child, 2 years later, and we had to negotiate what we were going to do, what I was going to do to come home and help. There were sometimes I would come home and in the middle of the day, and sometimes I would take a day off, and a lot of times I would come home, early. I'd only work 2 nights a week, and so that was how we established a rhythm that didn't grind either one of us to the dirt.
Yeah. It's interesting because as I think about that time period of having our oldest, and I know he listens to this, so having Nathaniel, and then we had Christopher, and it was around that time that I wasn't working, but I dabbled with working.
You did dabble.
And I struggled a lot with my own personal identity. And I think that is the first time, at the time I didn't know it, but that was the first time that my creative spirit started to cry inside and started to bubble up, and I called it boredom. I said I needed to do something. I was bored.
Right.
I didn't know what. And I remember shortly after Chris's birth that I needed to do something that involved creativity.
Creativity, yeah.
So the first thing I did was I took an Artist Way class
That's right. I remember that.
at the convent.
Abbey.
Yeah,
Right,
the convent that was in Edmonds. And then that just sort of percolated things to happen. And then I remembered that I had met some people from a faith community that had a community theater.
Oh, yes. I remember it well.
And I said, I think we need to go there. I think I need to do theater again. And
it was a coming back to a faith community that was similar to the one we
had when we got married in. Yeah. So we joined this church that had the theater, and I remember I was scared to death to audition.
Were you?
And I didn't audition.
I didn't
audition.
Interesting.
I approached the producer, who I knew a little bit better than the director, and I wasn't intimidated by her. I was a little intimidated by him. And I said, is there a part? I know I missed the auditions. Is there a part that I can do? So I was given a very small role in that first show. I had one line, and I was on stage once, and then I got to sing all the ensemble things. But that opened the door to my realizing that storytelling was way more important to me.
No, more important than
not
telling stories.
Than not telling stories. So I'm curious. I know this is stretching your memory banks just a little bit, but do you remember those early days when I started to do theater at the group that I'm still connected with? Do you remember how you supported me, or what you thought about it? Or I know that the details are not going to be there, but maybe there's a feeling attached.
Yeah, I mean, the feeling that's attached is support a feeling. I have to think about that. I was supportive. My behavior was definitely supportive. My feeling was, I was excited for you. I'd like to say I was thrilled, but I can't remember. Maybe.
Well, the funny thing is, you never actually got to see me perform.
Yeah, because I was always watching the kids while you were on stage.
No, before that.
Oh, before we got married.
Before we got married, because I stopped.
That's right.
When we became a couple.
I know. What a bummer.
But I didn't know that.
We're here now.
Yeah,
right? Radical acceptance.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was thrilled. I mean, I saw what it did for you. I saw, we had the kids involved, when they got old enough. I would not work on those nights that you had rehearsal. So again, that's the kind of the harmony, or the weaving in and out of that experience. So
after we had our third child and I wanted to go back to work, I did that year of AmeriCorps, which, helping
homeless youth,
homeless and at risk for being homeless youth and young adults. And then I started to work at the YMCA. And it was about 8 years later that a person in my water fitness class said, "Do you know anyone who plays drums? We need somebody to play drums for one piece for the Mukilteo Chamber group." And I went, "Yes, my husband.
I play the drums."
So I went home and I told you about it. And I'm curious, what was and again, this is pushing your memory banks. And I
have a memory.
I know. When did you realize, was it then or was it later? When did you realize that music was something that you needed, not just enjoyed?
Oh yeah, because I listen to music all the time.
Yep.
And
but listening is different than doing.
And playing, yeah, right. So I think you said that I started playing the drums when I was 10.
Yep.
Parents were very supportive, and I played in junior high and high school and at the UW in the Husky Band and the concert band. And so that was, 15, 10 or 15 years of powerful experience being in a community, telling a story of a sort, right? Whether it was a routine on the football field or a concert that that was very powerful. And I loved being in that community. And then I didn't do it for very long, right?
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And so getting back into it was really, really enriching. I really was very glad. I played, the drum set and, the snare drum sometimes. Eventually we got some timpani. And what it did for me was kind of re-engage me with a community of people who also love to play music. And now I'm in 2 groups, and I appreciate the support that you give me. Yeah, and it just does something for my soul, something for my
the other
the
side.
vibrations,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is a vibration. Sound is a vibration. Music is a vibration. So I'm curious, as we think about the evolution of us as a couple and us as individuals, what do you think shifted in our relationship as we began to honor these creative sides of ourselves?
Well, it made us more vibrant. It made us more varied. When it was just us taking care of our kids all the time, it was like this. Put your hands on top of mine, right? It was like this all the time, and so
actually, I'd be on the inside.
Okay. And so having these other activities, we would go away and do something in the theater, or I would go do something in music, and we would come back together. And we'd be enriched, and our relationship would be enriched, because then we could talk about those other things. We could see the growth or the spark in other people, in each other.
Yeah.
That was created and fueled by those other activities.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's move into this idea of creativity as connection.
Okay.
And what do you notice happens when we do these creative practices? So for you, what do you experience when you go, like Tuesday night, when you went to orchestra rehearsal? And I was at play rehearsal.
Oh, that's right, you were.
And we were separate for this short period of time doing our own language of creativity. So what did you gain from that moment? And I call it a moment.
Like the hour and a half or 2 hours
Yes.
that I'm with the orchestra. Yeah. What did I gain? Well, I regained connection with the people I play with, especially the drummers, right? But also the trombonists who were right in front of us. And the rest of the orchestra really appreciates the percussion being there. So I gained, I felt appreciated. I felt like my presence there was valuable and important and integral.
Yeah.
Should I ask you what you?
Well, I was just going to share. So Tuesday night was an interesting night for rehearsal, because my journey in the world of theater really was from a straight storytelling standpoint from the earliest moment that I began. And then I had the lovely opportunity to go to, I had an experience paid for when I was a junior going into senior in high school, to go to a 2-week intensive summer stock camp where I learned how to dance. And I discovered that I actually am musical, even though I had been told I wasn't musical when I was younger. And Tuesday night was a dance rehearsal, and it was tough for me. There was something about it that was causing some resistance.
I'm sorry I wasn't there.
But interestingly enough, there was a person there that offered to step in and take the lead on some of that I was struggling with, which I was very grateful for.
You were.
Very grateful
Nice.
for. Because then I can help tell the story. Then I can step back and use my lens of storyteller to say, okay, your facial expression is not going with what you're trying to tell me.
But then you didn't have to worry about the dance number.
Right.
Right. The choreography.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But I've noticed recently, and maybe you've noticed this about me, I've noticed recently that this role that I've taken on for the last 7 years at the theater
Oh, as artistic
is
director.
as director,
Right.
I don't get to tell the story.
You craft.
I craft a group of people to tell
tell
a
the story.
story. Now, while I enjoy that, I'm feeling like there's a little thing going on
So
inside
you're
me
getting
that says that I need to break out of that. I'm wondering,
or to be involved in
a
actually
different
being,
kind.
or being on stage,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
some other type of storytelling.
So I'm curious, how has your music helped you express things that words can't?
Wow. So you're talking to the word guy.
The
right?
word guy that
I'm the,
but
mostly the Scrabble winner, the walking thesaurus, as our kids say.
But I always comment on the fact that I married rhythm.
I
don't have to have rhythm. I married rhythm.
Okay, so what does it help me express that words can't? Well, sometimes it is pure power. Right? There was a time last year with the Philharmonic that the conductor said, "Hit it as hard as you can." And I was like, "What?" They almost never say that. And so there's a power in hitting a huge bass drum as hard as you can, without breaking the head, and making that tremendously loud sound that I watched the orchestra
They all go
they'll jump when I hit it, at least the first couple times. So there's power, there's sheer power of sound and impact, and the rhythm that you talked about, marrying. Sometimes it's as simple as this, right? But sometimes it. And when I'm playing that and somebody else is playing something else, and we all end at the same time, it's powerful in a different way. It's connecting in another way also. It's synchrony. It's this in and out flow of rhythm and then synchronizing.
It's interesting because I'm challenged by rhythm, but the music that I like the most is jazz. And I like jazz the most because it feels to me, and I even read a book, I think it was Brandon Marcellus had written a book where he talks about, in a jazz combo or group, the instruments are having a conversation.
Yes. Yep.
And it's like a story. And there's some of the pieces of music that you enjoy that are classical that I can feel that, like Holst's Planets. There is a story involved in that, but not all pieces do I get the story in the piece.
Right. And with the drums, at the men's retreat, sometimes we have a drumming, or we always have a drumming circle. Sometimes I go to the men's retreat. This year I'm going to go, and that's exactly what we do. We start with we start with a main rhythm. We keep going, and then somebody takes the lead, and then they pause, and somebody else responds. So it's call and response,
Mhm.
or like conversation, like you said.
Yeah. For me, storytelling, whether it be on stage with a story that I'm really super connected with, or a moth story from the Moth Radio Hour, or a couple years ago, I took the certificate in building community through storytelling,
Oh yeah.
and or writing my memoir.
I was going to mention that.
Story is a way that I think that we can heal. It's been proven that if you laugh, you create this healing thing.
Yeah.
I think story, knowing that you matter and your story matters,
Or you hear a story that you can relate to and
that you resonate with.
Resonate, yes.
And I think that heals, but I think music heals too. I think that we all have our form of creativity that can heal us if we allow ourselves to be aware of it.
As you say that, I am aware of some clients of mine who use visual arts to heal, and other people, they may not write a story, but they may write a poem.
Oh yeah, I have a friend that is a poet, and her poetry is so fabulous.
And you connect with it.
And I connect with it, and it's interesting. Not everybody gets poetry, right? Yeah.
Not everybody gets classical music.
Nope, and not everybody gets what it means to be up on a stage or to sit in the audience of something at a stage.
And I think that just proves that, or shows that people are very different, and that thank goodness we have these many different ways to be creative and to use those creative venues and avenues to heal.
Yeah.
And to heal ourselves, and as well as heal others.
Well, and I think there's another element of that.
Okay.
And it's connection. So in a world where we seem so separate,
silos
from one another,
yeah,
I believe that connection and belonging is key to our human evolution.
Yep.
And if we're not evolutionists, that's fine. It is our key to survival.
It really
is connection and belonging. And so some people are of the opinion, and it's not necessarily right or wrong, it's just their perspective and opinion, that connection is about doing everything together.
Oh, or agreeing.
Yes. Or
being yoked.
Well,
okay, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, even an egg yolk can be separated from the white. I mean, seriously.
I mean, like two animals yoked together pulling on the thing.
Yes, yeah. But when we think about connection being something that we're always doing together.
Yeah. Or they were clones of each other.
Sometimes I am of the opinion that connection is when we create space for the other to go do something else. I am struck by the poster I had hanging in my bedroom growing up. If you love it, set it free. Yeah. And it will come back to you when it is ready.
Yeah.
And I think about, so there was a time that Dan wasn't sure he wanted to be with me.
Very short period of time. And very early in the relationship.
And he said we needed to take a break.
Yeah, separation was.
And my soul was telling me, this is my person. And it took so much power, internal power, to just create that space that you needed.
To let that happen.
As a person who works with couples, what is your opinion about creating space for the other?
Okay. All right. So, I'm going to go back to the first thing you said, which was, some people think that connection is about, this agreeing or being a clone of the other person, and always doing things together. Connected at the hip, right? Joined at the hip, I think they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be like in music, everybody playing the same notes all the time, right? Whether it's a flute or a trumpet or a violin, playing all the same notes, and they would all be going up and down at the same time. It would be very boring. And so the fact that they wander around and play different things, one goes up, one goes down, and then they come back together, or they play in harmony with each other.
And sometimes they're dissonant.
And sometimes they're dissonant, just like human relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So as I think about us and our connection and separateness and then reconnection, I think that's pretty healthy. I just finished listening to a book by two psychologists, Tronick and Gold. It's called The Power of Discord. And it is about the fact that in human relationships, we are out of sync about 70% of the time.
Oh, interesting. That came up in something I was listening to yesterday.
There you go. So the key is reconnecting. And if there's a disruption or an abruption or a rupture in a relationship, it doesn't spell doom for the relationship. The relationship can repair. The people can come back together. And it's actually, the research shows that coming back together is the thing that keeps people attached or creates a healthy attachment. So with children, they walk away, they come back. They walk away, they come back. Sometimes the parent is not available, either physically or emotionally. And the child protests and gets the parent to pay attention to them, right, in various different ways. And it is the act of the child protesting and the parent responding that creates that attachment where the child feels like they have agency and power and control and safety with that person. Mm-hmm. And it's very much the same with adult relationships.
Yeah. So what helps, not necessarily us, but what helps people learn to create space?
Well, first they have to know that they need it.
Okay.
Or that, and second, they need to know that it's okay to have it. They have to deal with whatever anxieties they have about being separated from their person, if that's what needs to happen for this, creative process. I don't know what number I'm on, 4 maybe.
It doesn't matter.
They have to, people have to know what it is that they want to do, or they have to try many things to see what flips their switch.
Yeah.
And then once all those things are accomplished, or as all 4 of those, kind of go together, then the person says, aha,
that's it.
I have discovered the thing that currently flips my switch that I need to go do. And some people it's exercise, some people it's a climbing, Mount Rainier, some people it's, learning a new language, right? Some people it's theater, some people it's music, whatever.
It's interesting you brought up those other things, because on the timeline of creativity, so this is the thing that I have witnessed in some of the work that I've done, is that the people that say that they aren't creative, they don't include everything that causes their brain to trigger in ways that has them be able to expand their thinking. It's not a strategy something.
Right.
Well, at some point in time, exercise and mountain climbing or hiking or all of those things, at the beginning, they require more the left brain, the strategy
Yeah.
side
Yeah. The
to
logic.
to learn it. But once it becomes habit,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes an extension of a creative person because now it's
Mm.
where else can I go? What other possibilities are there? What else
Mm.
can we do? So I think about when a couple, ourselves or others, might be trying to figure out what this creating space for is.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to go do?
Mm.
It's not just to go painting, and it's not just to go, to a book group, and it's not just to go, it could be to go hiking.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we know someone, in fact, she was on my podcast in September,
Yeah.
that part of her outlet in the world is hiking. She is also an artist.
Yeah.
She also paints and she sews and she makes very creative things, but hiking really lights her up, and her partner enjoys hiking too.
Yeah.
Hasn't done it quite as much, but enjoys it as well. So that is something that they creatively can go do together.
And it's very stimulating. That's the word you said, triggering.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking the word is stimulating, right? That
Mm-hmm.
it stimulates the brain to grow. It stimulates the connection between different neurons. It
Mm-hmm.
stimulates interest and livelihood and vibrancy.
Yeah.
And then if we do that separately, then we get to come back and enjoy that vibrancy with
Right.
each other.
Right. Right. And I think the next question is sort of related to this harmony. So
Mm.
can you share? Now I'm going to ask you to speak a little bit about your
Okay.
work, what it looks like for a couple or two friends or siblings. I think you could put any relationship into this that is in harmony, literally, as well as relationally. So I think about our families.
Okay.
We are not always in harmony, meaning we're not connecting on the same levels that we used to when we were growing up.
Sure.
But maybe we might want to do that again. So how could families of origin or friends who have been separated or couples who are struggling find harmony?
Mm. Well,
What are some ways?
yeah, the first thing
that
that pops into my mind about that is that you have to be in the same room. You have to be in the same space to create harmony, and it doesn't have to be like physical space. It could be over the internet. It could be on the phone, right? My sister lives in another state, 2,000 miles away, and when she and I talk on the phone, we connect and we laugh and we share happiness and pain, and so there's an interweaving of that conversation between us. I think in order to make it happen, people have to reach out.
So we have to make a first step.
We have to have intention, and this is something I've been talking about a lot lately. Is intention and the values that drive those intentions.
Yeah.
So not based on a feeling necessarily, although feelings can be very informative, but the values that we have. It's like, I value connection. I value having a relationship with my siblings. Therefore, I do things that show that. I reach out, especially on birthdays or holidays.
Right.
And other times, just because I felt like it, or because one of us has a health issue. And so my value that I have of being connected and supporting each other is shown by or activates me to reach out, whether somebody reaches back out or not.
Right. So then the question is, So that is going to help us create harmony. But harmony can be done in a minor key,
That's true.
meaning you don't maybe agree 100% of the time
Mhm.
on everything, but you can
Let's hope
agree to disagree
Yes.
on some things in order to create connection and harmony.
And agreeing to disagree, agreeing to disagree is a valuable skill. There is an equal and maybe even a higher value skill, which is listening to the other person's viewpoint, even if you don't, or especially if you don't agree with it.
How do we learn that? And I'm asking this question because in the world that we presently live in,
Yeah, not a lot of that going on.
not a lot of listening, true listening. People will say that they hear what you're saying, but they don't necessarily hear the words. They're immediately coming up with the answer before you've completed your sentence.
Right, which is something I try to help my clients not do. There's a couple of things. One is curiosity. We have to have genuine curiosity about what's happening inside your head or your heart or your body, right? There needs to be that genuine curiosity. And there can't be judgment. And so the antithesis of judgment is acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
So I can accept you as a human being with value and value and skills and strengths and also failings and weaknesses. But I don't judge you or vilify you for that. I just know that you are a person of worth, and I'm curious what's going on in your head.
Yeah. How do we learn that?
Practice. And for a lot of the families that I see, a lot of the couples that I see have kids, and one of the reasons they're in therapy is so they don't mess up their kids. I almost used the F word.
I'm not sure YouTube would appreciate the F word.
As some of my clients say, we're just trying to not raise assholes.
Right.
And so that's a motivation. I say, all right, so if you don't want your kids to turn out like that, and you don't want them to be in therapy when they're 40, then here's what you can do. You can listen to them. You can be curious about them. You can let them know that they're important, but not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great way to practice it.
Okay. I'm going to come back to us.
All right, great.
So in music and in love and all these other things, we've learned that harmony isn't necessarily sameness. It's sharedness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put it in
That's
that.
great. Yeah.
It's the art of difference coming together. And I'm curious. I don't know if I should answer this first or second. So how have we learned to honor when we don't agree?
Well, I think through practice.
Yes, because there was an early time. There was an early time in our relationship where, and it was actually right after we had kids, where we had several things that we did not agree on.
Right.
And I don't think, well, we were tired.
Yep.
And we didn't really have the time to sit down independently and have a discussion about those.
Yeah.
But I think as the kids got older, I think we learned that we had to talk about them.
And that it benefited us to talk about them.
But we didn't have to agree.
That's correct. You and I have many differences. One is in parenting, right? I mean, we agree on most things, but I am much more willing to let the kids take certain risks when you were much more anxious about
they're boys
them taking risks. And I struggled with adopting some of your more restrictive rules, but the way I was able to do that was by talking with you and listening to you about what your dreams were, what your fears were, and honoring those. I didn't agree that we needed to be afraid for those things, but I honored the fact that you were concerned and your level of risk tolerance was lower than mine.
Yeah.
How did you do it?
Well, I think the figuring out that this was something we had to talk about. It couldn't just be sitting out there. It couldn't be the elephant in the room that we were walking around and ignoring. We actually had to have a conversation about it. And in my family of origin, and both of our parents are gone now, but my parents didn't do that very well. There were things that bothered my mother that my father did that I don't think they ever talked about.
Not that you heard, right?
Well, she tried, and he wasn't open, and so they stopped having conversations about it.
So how did you evolve beyond that?
I became curious as to what it would be like if someone talked about something. Now, this backfired on me in that there were people that I was in relationship with, friends, that I would try and have a conversation about something, and they would just cut me off. They were done because I wanted to have a conversation. I don't know if they thought I was too needy or whatnot, but I needed to understand, and I still to this day.
Them to understand you. Also,
well,
right?
Maybe both, but I also needed to understand what they were thinking. And I still to this day, I need to understand, and I'll use those words. I need to understand. Tell me more. I need to understand, because I think I'm curious. Maybe I need to come up with a different word.
Then curious
or understand. But whatever it is, I think
we do the Vulcan mind meld.
That doesn't work.
Then you'll understand.
But I think it's still something we're learning. I don't think we stop learning how to honor the other, because the other is changing, and I am changing, and we are changing at the same time. So we have to learn how to honor ourselves. We have to learn how to honor the other. I think we have to be curious. We have to be open to shifting. A river flows and the shoreline is never the same.
Right. And back to the music, you talked about changing, right? You change, I change, our relationship changes. I mean, that amazing music has that in it.
Has the key chains.
Right. It has the key changes. It has, counter melodies and again, the trumpet part is not more important than the violins. Right.
It's just different.
And it's just different. And they both have their place. And so honoring, I think that's one of the words that I would use that would help convey the idea of what it's like is you honor each other. I honor you and your personality and your thoughts and your feelings. And that allows me to be curious about what you have to say.
Yeah. So let's sort of kind of integrate this and bring it all together. What creative connection teaches us. So I'm curious, Dan.
Oh, curious. You want to understand something about it?
No, as you reflect upon what we've talked about, what insights, if any, have you had?
Well, one thing that popped into my head earlier was that lately we've been doing some creativity together, and that is the musical theater, right? So she directs, I
invite him to come sit in the pit.
She invites me to play the drums. I sometimes am on stage, but not so much lately. So that's one thing where we play together. And another thing that, as you were talking about the players, the fellow who was there before you, he talked about playing, and it was playing in the sandbox and
Yeah.
making things happen.
The biggest kid that you and I both knew,
he was a great man.
He was in his 70s when he passed away, and he would get down on the ground and play with the younger kids.
Yep. And they both edifying him and you. We've heard people talk about the fact that what you do is create a family. You create an environment and a community, and that's what either an orchestra. Orchestras are kind of big, right? And so there's a little bit less intimacy. But the pit in a musical theater, or sometimes we'll play at church. Me and my son and some other folks, and that's more intimate and more connecting, because we can kind of feel the rhythm and the vibration and the undulation and the harmony.
Yeah.
And I think those things are some of what has come to me through our conversation today. The other thing I wanted to say is that as a Gottman method therapist, one of the things that John and Julie talk about is that we are all storytellers.
We are, and it's a forgotten art.
And one of the things that I have couples do in my office is take turns telling stories. Stories, wonderful, good stories, but a lot of times
they're hard.
Negative stories about their childhood or about previous relationships, so that their partner can understand what's going on for them.
Yeah.
And the first thing I do with couples is I ask them to tell the story of their relationship.
Which we, in essence, just did.
Yeah, it's called the oral history interview.
Yeah.
Because we do it orally, and So anyway, I just think that that's really a cool thing.
So one more question for you, and then I'll sort of wrap things up.
Okay.
When you think about the phrase, the creative connection, and you think about maybe this conversation, maybe the people you work with, maybe the world, I don't know what comes to mind, but the creative connection, what comes up when you think of that?
Well, I think of the power of creativity to create that connection, because what's the opposite of creativity? Stagnation, stuntedness, silence,
isolation.
Blech. I mean, people can create in isolation, but usually they want to share their creation.
They have to express. It's coming up for a reason. Even if you are a painter or you're a writer and you're solely doing that work that you put out into the world is being shared with the world.
And creates connection between the author or creator or director or musician and the audience, and maybe between audience members or between players, obviously. So as you were asking that question, the reason I paused so long was I was thinking about the various levels of communities. So you and I, we are a community of two. We have our 3 boys and our daughter-in-law and
all their friends.
Some best friends, and so we have a community of like 7 or 10. Right. And then we have our church that we've been talking about. I have my partners at work, and without creativity, I think to myself, it would feel dead. And there's not much connection when things are dead. And so then I think about our government, and I think about how uncreative
at times.
Well, right now, what I see is there's just a lack of creative thinking. There's a lack of open-mindedness. And so us modeling that and hopefully sharing those ripples outward in our community, and then who knows where those ripples will take, or where those ripples will take the effect.
Yeah.
That's what it means to me, and that's what I hope.
Great.
All right. I appreciate
well, when I think of creativity, I think of sparks.
Oh.
I think of a sparkler, actually.
Oh.
A sparkler that's got all its little sparkles going, and it never gets very hot, but it's never the same,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
So as I reflect on our conversation, I want to just tie this back into last week with Dr. Jenny.
You talked about a spark then too.
I did talk about a spark then, and we also talked about dance, and we talked about music, and we talked about a relationship is like a tango,
Oh, yeah.
or a salsa, and creativity is a form of self-development and self-mastery. And if we are learning to be our own leader in relationship with others, creativity is really, really important. I also think that when we give and hold space for another person that we're in relationship with, whether it's our partner, a friend, community, whoever it is, that is a gift of love.
Mm.
That space is the gift of love. This conversation has been really rich and very meaningful. Thank you. In fact,
And thank you for inviting me.
yes, I think our connection and allowing and holding and sharing space for each other is part of why I've done some of the things I have done over the course of the last 5 years in my own personal development and self-mastery. And one of those things is creating and being a part of a circle of people that helped me become rooted at my core, to help me find out what my values were. So I've created my own Rooted in You circle. And it's an experience for up to 12 women. And the next one begins in January. In this circle, we will practice some of what we talked about today, and we'll learn how to create space to reconnect with ourselves so that we can show up and be fully present in all of our relationships. As a Gottman method therapist and as the wife of one, I want to share a technique that I don't do very well.
I think I know what it is.
One of the things that during the State of the Union we are called to do
At the beginning
is to express appreciation. And I didn't grow up receiving, so it wasn't role modeled to me what it looks like to be appreciative. But I do want to say that I appreciate so many things. First of all, for saying yes to coming on this silly little podcast that I do, saying yes to being my partner and putting up with all my crap over the years. And I have much gratitude for your support in all that I've done with my life. Would you like to share one?
Of course. I appreciate, well, first of all, thank you for all those beautiful appreciations. That's very meaningful to me. And thank you for many things. One, I appreciate that you have done the work that you've done over the last 5 years to really understand yourself way better than you ever have before. And thank you for making such amazing food. She's such a good cook, and I am just, not meat and potatoes, but nothing like what she can do. And thank you for raising our boys, for partnering to raise our boys into amazing young men who I'm proud of, and I think we're grateful for them that they've taken some of our teachings and our wisdom
Become beautiful men
in the world.
in the world. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, what I have loved about this, that's okay. What I have loved about this conversation is how it reminds me that love, like music or story, is an art form.
Mm.
It changes, it breathes, and it asks us to listen, not just to each other, but to ourselves. Creating space for your partner's voice doesn't diminish your voice. It amplifies it, because when two people are grounded in their creative truth, connection becomes, like I spoke about last week, a dance. Fluid, real, and alive. If this episode spoke to you, take a moment today to ask yourself this question and really sit with it. Maybe journal about it, come back to it. What creative impulse in me is waiting for space to breathe? What creative impulse in me is waiting for space to breathe? Next week, I hope you'll join me for a powerful conversation with a new friend, Jacob Nordby, writer, creative coach, and founder of Creatively Unbootcamp. We'll explore how the creative spirit helps us heal, reclaim our voice, discover meaning and mission, and ultimately lean into what matters most in life. Until then, you may find rhythm in your relationships, grace in your pauses, and courage in creative voice. And remember, connection isn't about being together all the time. It's about seeing, hearing, and celebrating the truth in each other's voice. That's what makes it last. Until next week, have a wonderful journey and song. Thank you.